Eddie Hearn, welcome to the Black Forge Inn, Dublin, Ireland. I mean, I know you've been here before for a meeting with Conor McGregor, but today I saw you having some lunch, a bit of hospitality. How's it been for you so far?
I'm ready for a sleep. We've done a lot of media today. I've had the steaks on the stone, I've had the sweet potato curry, I've had the Buddha bowl.
Oh yeah.
Food is top drawer. I've had a few of these.
Yes.
And just ready now for the sofa.
Right.
Nice night in watching a football or something and snoozing away like an old man.
Well, in fact, I actually just watched you pour this pint,
Yes.
which I have to commend you on your ability. I believe Liam said it was the perfect pint.
Yeah,
He loved it. I'll make you drink one more.
Yeah, cheers,
Cheers.
mate. Cheers, cheers.
Cheers. A wise man once told me the first sub had to be to the label. He actually owns the place.
Okay.
Katie Taylor coming back to Ireland. You've been a promoter now for years. You've done shows, you've done big shows, you've done stadium shows. But there's something about this, even though it's not in a stadium, that it's bringing a woman home to her home country. That must give you a buzz, that must make you think, hey, we got a unique show here.
Yeah, we've kind of done it back to front. I mean, it's remarkable to think she's grown as one of the biggest stars, I mean, certainly in boxing, but even in combat sports, and never fought in her own country. You know, even when she's debuted, even when she challenged for her first title. So to bring it back at this point is really special. And you saw, you know, the workout and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's the kids. It's like fighters and celebrities and stars always divide opinion, but she does.
Yeah.
Like I've never met anyone that doesn't love Katie Taylor.
Yeah. Even today, I was at the open workouts, and I have to say, the amount of young girls screaming, I thought that was like genuinely heart-touching. It's a very male sport, boxing, so see all these young girls like cheering for her. And then as I was leaving, there was an elderly lady who was kind of, is she coming this way? She seems to cross generations and markets in a way that not many other boxers do.
Yeah, and I think that you've seen, you know, the legacy that she's created in terms of inspiring young girls to take up boxing. Like, we do a lot of work in the community. You know, spend a lot of time in my local amateur boxing club. My daughter goes. She loves Katie Taylor.
Yeah.
I was there the other night watching an 11-year-old spar a 13-year-old. I've never seen anything like it. The talent. You know, this 11-year-old guy at the ring, I said, you know, you're a very special fighter. She said, oh, thank you, it's my life. I thought, what era are we living in where an 11-year-old girl is telling me that boxing is her life? Yeah. And I said to her, I knew what the answer would be. I said, who's your favourite fighter? Kate.
Yeah.
She's amazing. You know, but now there are dozens of female stars that they can look up to. It doesn't just have to be Katie Taylor, but she's the one.
Yeah.
You know, she's the greatest. She's the trailblazer. Yeah. And it's just incredible that you can find someone as humble as her.
Yes.
She kind of knows what she's done, but you'll never hear her shouting it from the rooftops. I will. Yeah. It's my job and I'm proud of her and I'll do it. But just, I think, one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Well, even you mentioned sort of humbleness. She was almost, today she invited a girl in to sort of shadow box her. She was almost sheepish about that. She was like, are you a boxer? Do you want to come in?
I said to her, I said, there's a lot of kids down there. Do you want to go and see it? And she said, oh, do they want me to go down? I was like, well, obviously. You know,
we're here.
Yeah, but that's amazing, you know, and I think the dedication to her craft is what inspired me to try and help. You know, I mean, I'm going to always sell the story to her, and, you know, I reckon one day we'll sell out Madison Square Garden and we'll take you home to Ireland and we'll do, you know, and all those boxes have been ticked, and this is kind of like the final box. You know, we know there's Croke Park and stuff like that, but like, there's not much she hasn't done.
But yet, you almost imagine the swan song, you know, oh, she's finally home, she can walk away. But the fight itself on Saturday is about as tricky as she can take right now.
I think the toughest of her career. But she wanted the biggest test. She wanted to bring a real fight back to Dublin, and also a chance to create history and become a two-time, two-division undisputed champion. She's the challenger on Saturday.
Yeah, it's so weird to think about that.
And it's just incredible, and that's just her, you know. And people, sometimes you have a fight that isn't the biggest and it's a mandatory challenger, and she'll fight okay, still win easily. And they're like, oh, is she on the slide? And then she fights Serrano, and it's one of her best performances. And you'll see another great Katie Taylor performance on Saturday, but by far the toughest fight of her career.
When I watched her walk to the ring against Serrano and MSG, it was a moment for me. I've always liked Katie Taylor, I've always thought she's a great boxer, but as she walked very slowly, with this sort of hymn-like music, and I sensed an aura. I was like, oh, this is greatness that we're actually watching tonight. And she sort of reached that level of a career now where she's so appreciated and so loved by her fans that she's, you know, Conor called her the GOAT the other day. Like, she really has entered that sort of legendary status in boxing.
She is for me, the greatest female fighter of all time. You're never going to hear her calling herself that, like some, but I don't think she needs to. And it's not just about her achievements in the professional code. You know, it's the whole thing about, you know, women's boxing being banned by Ireland when she started, coming in, hiding her ponytail, pretending to be a boy, canvassing the IOC, having to have an exhibition fight in front of the IOC to prove that women's boxing is good enough. You know, it's just so many different levels of achievements. And, you know, I think that looking back now, it's quite hallucinogenic to think of that meeting that we had in the office, because it was 7 years ago now, and she sent me a direct message that she wanted to have a meeting with me. And I only did it out of respect. You know, I watched her win gold in London, and I just thought, this is like, the noise was incredible. I saw her heartbreak in Rio, and I just sort of thought, look, there isn't really a demand for it, but she's it. I was like, it'd be quite cool to have Katie Taylor in the office. And she came in after just 10 minutes. I was like, I'm all in. Yeah. And I went home that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. You know, what if we made women's boxing something? What if we were part of her journey? Can't really bet against her, can you? Look at what she's done. And it's been one of the most enjoyable chapters or journeys of certainly my career and us as a company. Yeah. Because the boundaries that it's broken, you know, we've been a part of that, and that adds to the history. Like the night at Madison Square Garden will long live as one of the greatest in that venue. Yeah. And that's, you know, as a promoter, I staged that fight. She did all the work, really, but I was there. I had my name on the poster. I'm very proud.
Well, for someone who's so hated in the boxing community, it must be nice for her to DM you and pick you, no?
Yeah, it was.
Because usually the guys are DMing you a lot more abuse, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, the fighters aren't, but, you know, the fans are. But, you know, you just have to... There is still... When we started, we honestly got laughed out of town. Mm-hmm. Like, I headlined her at Wembley Arena for her debut. And people were going, what? Like, what? And I just said, just watch. And it was only a 4-round fight. And she stopped the girl, and everyone was like, wow. She fights like a Mexican, you know, she's like doubling up to the body and head, and like, and after that, everyone started becoming believers. I said the other day, it's not just boxing in terms of women's sports, all sports. Like, my daughter plays football, and there's no football team at her school that plays consistently for girls. Yeah. She plays out of hours and out of school. And if you would have said to me 10 years ago, like, why isn't there a girls' football team in the school? I would have laughed at you and said, because girls don't play football. I feel a bit ashamed to admit that.
Hockey and netball was when I was at school.
You know, and that's like, and what's happened now is, it's got me saying, why on earth isn't there a football team for girls? Why shouldn't girls be allowed to play football? Especially when you talk about boxing. Mm-hmm. You know, and for me as a parent to push my kids, my daughters, into boxing, because I know how beneficial it can be for them. Yeah. You know, but she's done that really. Without Katie Taylor, there wouldn't be down at boxing gym. You know, but and that, it's opened doors, not just for boxing, but those barriers that the women are breaking, you know, accentuate into other sports as well. And she's one of the key figureheads, not just in boxing, of all female sport that have been a big driver. And she'll never take the credit for the other sports. She won't take the credit for boxing. Yeah. But she's the one. But
she obviously is the driving force. But for yourself, is it cool because, you know, some of the other promoters you're against are a little bit long in the tooth and have been around for a while, more than a while for some of them. Is it cool that because of your success with women's boxing, you basically had to force them to drag themselves along with you?
But now, you know, when we started, the comments, no, they never get erased, do they, from YouTube? So it's like, women's boxing doesn't work, who's interested in women's boxing? Next thing, they're saying women's boxing, female fighters great and stuff like that. It's like,
shout out Bob Aaron.
Exactly. But I don't, you know, I've always said that it's not women's boxing, it's not men's boxing. It's just boxing. Yeah. And it's entertainment. And if a fighter is entertaining to watch, it doesn't matter. And I just find that female fighters, as a whole, at the elite end, are just as excited to watch. Oh, yeah. Sometimes more excited to watch. But better than that, we'll fight each other. And we'll chase the legacy. And of course, they want the money, and they're receiving that now. But they're not just money. I want legacy. I want to break boundaries. I want to create history. I want to inspire the next generation. And that's really rewarding, because when was the last time you had a fighter at lightweight division fighting who was undisputed, fighting the undisputed featherweight world champion? Yeah. The undisputed featherweight champion pulls out. She then fights the undisputed light welterweight champion. like in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that in men's boxing. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
So that's what's great to deal with.
You have mentioned, you have mentioned before in boxing about the characters. That and it's all the world's a stage and you're a character to push forward. Conor McGregor is probably about as unique as a character as you can get. I know you met him here in the Black Forge, but he probably said that he wanted to sponsor the event. And I'm sure you probably felt, maybe, it's maybe a cheap headline, but then to meet him here, to actually have it come to fruition with Forged Irish Stout sponsoring, Tidal sponsoring Katie, what's that journey been like from the first meeting here to actually having pen to paper and here we are at the Forge drinking the drink?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a Conor McGregor fan. You know, I was, when I don't watch UFC really, but I watch Conor McGregor. And his personality, you know, I remember watching the tour with the Mayweather.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was at that fight. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. And I just thought, what a character. You know, what a great self-promoter, what a client he would be.
Yeah.
And I met him in Boston when he came to watch Katie fight there a few years ago. Came in, very, you know, he was a gentleman, again, full of energy. And then he popped up and sort of piped up when we talked about Croke Park and said, you know, this has got to happen. And I was like, gee, like, it's a bit deeper than that. It's done, you know, I'll sponsor it, I'll do that. And I thought, look, so I reached out to him on social media and said, look, it's quite complicated, but I'm happy to come over. We'll have a chat about it and etc. And, you know, we came in here. He was like a million miles an hour, full of passion and energy. And I love the way that he's obviously got a lot of products that he's working on now because he has a huge profile. But the knowledge of the product, the passion for the product, you know, he's telling me about how this is made and like this with no, and this is much better than this because and like, he'll take what do you think, and I love that. Yeah, you know, I love people who live with passion. Same with Tidal, and you know, not only did he end up sponsoring the show, but he sponsored Katie. Yeah, you know, and by the way, they'll get their money's worth. So it wasn't a charity donation. It works for everybody, and he's a businessman as well. He understands that it's a nice link up, and you know, it's good teamwork. And
that said, though, he's always had a very honest support of Katie Taylor all throughout his career. He loved
that. He adores Katie.
Yeah,
and that's the main reason he's doing it. If he didn't like Katie, he didn't like.
Yeah. Oh, I can. Yeah.
Then, but also at the same time, you know, the passion that he has for Irish boxing, Irish sport, and Katie Taylor. You know, this isn't just about doing something that he should be doing, supporting Katie Taylor. This is doing something because he wants to, and he cares, and you know, I respect that as well. And he came through. You know, it was. I believe he's coming on Saturday night, maybe. And but he's messaging me all the time. You know, he messaged me the other day. How's it all looking? Yeah. I'm like, yeah. I sent him one outside here. He's like, the other lads with Ariel, and I just like the energy. Yeah. You know, I think you meet some. Like a lot of fighters that I've been around, sometimes you leave them and it just makes you feel different. And he's one of those guys. AJ's the same. You know, you have an hour with AJ, like you smile and you laugh and you leave there feeling good. He's on another level. Conor, I mean, we were sitting over there and he was showing me how he's going to beat Nate Diaz if they rematch and the kicks were coming out and everything. I was thinking, this is wild.
I've been there.
Yeah, and he was standing up while he was eating steak and just telling me all these stories. But again, you leave there and you go, with a smile on your face. That's what life's all about.
If you could have promoted Conor in one boxing match, who would it be against?
Conor, in MMA, you know, we were talking earlier about Nate Diaz fighting Jake Paul and stuff like that. Conor comes from a boxing background. You know, he's been an amateur boxer. He has the fundamentals, but obviously not to compete with Floyd Mayweather. But some of these guys coming through don't really have those fundamentals, and now, he can do it, he can box, so I'd want to put him in with someone who was at least a 50-50 fighter. You know, I don't know, him against Nate Diaz boxing, you know, could be a decent fight, but I'm like, Conor, there's not one person on the planet Conor wouldn't believe he'd beat.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and that's why he's such a great fighter.
Yeah. When you look at the sort of Katie's journey after this, Serrano seems to be the logical choice in Croke Park, should she beat Heather Hardy. For you, is that the one that makes sense, and is that the sign-off, or do you think, well, we'll just have to see how Saturday goes?
I think the latter. I mean, Saturday's such a tough fight, you know. This could be one of the greatest fights you've ever seen. Maybe they do it again. You know, Katie wins, maybe they do Serrano, and Alicia Baumgardner. Like, you've got all these great fights out there, but Saturday is such a difficult fight that you don't really look past it. But Croke Park is still a pipe dream. You know, a stadium fight here is still a pipe dream, and Saturday is the biggest gate in the history of Free Arena by a mile.
Yeah.
And it's only 8,500 tickets, but they were expensive because we could have done 50,000 at Croke Park. So I think all eyes look to Saturday, and then we see what's next.
If you do the Serrano fight, do you have to hire more security to stop Conor knocking out Jake? Or?
I know, yeah, it's a good point. That could come together. Maybe we'll sign a co-promotional deal with Conor for that fight.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let's not have Dana White come in here.
No, yeah, true. Actually, how is that? But no, I think look, they're all great characters. I don't necessarily get on with Jake Paul, but he's still a character, and every character involved in the sport brings something different. And Conor's probably the biggest of them all.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the greatest combat
I see what you're saying.
fighters of all time. It's not like he needs a man. So I don't know, but he's a competitor and he loves to fight.
I want to pitch to you. Anthony Joshua has been rumoured of this Saudi Arabia fight with Deontay Wilder in December, right? And you're going to want to fight in the interim, should that fight take place, you want to keep him busy. Would the logical fight therefore not be to pick someone who is interesting, unique, and will make you lots of money, and that should surely be Francis Ngannou? Yeah. The Dillian White fights there, like the rematch, they had the beef, but there's a risk with Dillian White. Surely for Joshua and for you, you can beat Francis, right?
Yeah, I think the Francis Ngannou fight happens in the Middle East. You know, it's a kind of, not freak show, because Francis can box as well, but the big money comes there from the Middle East, and in August, it's not really the time to do it.
Just because of the weather? Or
yeah, mainly. And I spoke to AJ about the fight, and he likes it and he gets it, but he's very focused on his boxing career at the moment, and he doesn't want to derail that to do something a little bit gimmicky, even though it's dangerous, you know. But he wants to prepare for Deontay Wilder, and I think he doesn't feel that Ngannou would prepare him for Deontay Wilder. But
ironically, considering both of them are like the big swinging dudes.
Yeah, maybe. But I had 2 hours of Francis Ngannou in a meeting in Vegas. One of the most fascinating meetings I've ever had. I mean, his story is unbelievable. I found myself just asking him question after question about his life and how he ended up where he did, and you know, and
a struggle you can relate to from your upbringing.
Not at all, but that's the thing I found fascinating. I don't think anyone can relate to it.
No, of course,
it was unbelievable, and you know, he's a very tough man and a huge man, and he will be in a big fight, I'm sure.
Do you think the Saudi Arabia four guys one night thing happens if you're in your heart of hearts?
If they want it to, it can happen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they can. We've been there before, and if they want it to happen, it can happen.
Is that the sort of thing that needs to happen to... I've heard you say that you want to make boxing similar to the UFC, right? You want this 4-belt system, you guys, basically to bring it in together, you need a sort of a one system track. Is this sort of thing with the Saudis putting the money in to make the heavyweights fight each other, to make that happen?
It just shows you that when the money's big enough, everyone's capable of working together.
Yes.
Well, that's the reality. You know, people don't want to work together because it's your job to put the best fights on for your platform. So these cross-promotional fights are a pain for some people, but when it works for everybody, broadcasters included, it happens. And that's a fight night that's just so big, they'll find a way to make it happen.
Yeah. In your heart of hearts, do you think it does happen this time?
I think we've Deontay Wilder. Yeah, I can't tell you on the other one. I mean, but again, they seem very adamant in making that night happen, and if they feel that way, generally they'll find a way.
Do you think, I've heard you say in interviews before that you think Fury doesn't really fancy the Usyk fight. He's coming out now and saying, oh, I hope I fight both of them, but we'll see what happens. Do you think out of the 4 guys, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but out of the 4 heavyweights mentioned, is he the trickiest one to deal with?
Maybe because of the size. You know, they all bring something.
But I mean negotiation.
Oh yeah, sure. Blimey, yeah. I mean, look, we did a deal with Usyk very quickly. Wilder, I understand they've got pretty much a deal in place at the moment. Fury's very difficult, very awkward, in and out of the ring. And I think he only really wants to be in fights that he feels he knows he wins.
Yeah. Everyone points to that. He spoke about Steve Cunningham on the Joe Rogan Experience. Oh, he was a cruiserweight. I couldn't get near him. He was tricky. And it's like, well, you're basically describing Usyk, aren't you? Do you see that fight sort of the reason why?
I think he was young then, and I think he wasn't the fighter he is now. But Usyk's a brilliant fighter, man. And Fury knows that. You know, he talks about him being a middleweight and all. He knows. Tyson Fury knows boxing. Everyone knows how good Alexander Usyk is, and it's a very difficult fight.
Yeah. We'll wrap up here shortly in a couple of questions, but I just want to get your opportunity to, when you sort of were looking at Katie Taylor's comeback, did you imagine it would be this sort of, in boxing, the bigger fights are usually won with ill will. This guy hates this guy. We're going to see this guy chin this guy. They fucking don't like each other. This one just seems to be happy. Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Is it the apple or the normal one, though?
Can we get 2 of the apples as well, please, Liam? Like,
Cheers.
cheers.
Decent, smooth.
It's very smooth.
I'm not a whiskey drinker.
That men's health thing looks like miles away now, doesn't it? But usually in boxing, the big fights are the ones where there's ill will. This one just seems a wave of positivity. 2 women are going there, they're going to show their best, and Katie Taylor gets to perform finally in front of the people who love her.
It's just Katie. You know, you're never going to get... I mean, she will stand up for herself, but she wants to be the role model. She doesn't want young girls watching her and she's saying, I'm going to do this and putting her head. That's just not her style. And that's good. You know, it may limit her audience sometimes because people love that. But it opens her up, like you said, to the young girl who was there today, to the gran that was there today.
Yeah.
You know, a complete breadth of demographic.
What's the angriest word she's ever said to you?
Well, we've had a couple of choice words about her money. You know, she stand up for herself.
Really?
Yeah, she. You know, if she believes, you know, she went through a stage of getting out-earned by the men.
Yes.
Who didn't have the same value as her. And that was wrong. But that was where we were at the time, you know? And there just wasn't the money from the broadcasters to ensure she deserved what she got to. And now, she's earning more than the men. Not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to be, and still more to come.
We'll wrap it up with this. I sort of, in a weird way, see Katie's journey and your own journey together. I personally, look, I'll go out there and say I'm a fan of Eddie Hearn. I watch all the stuff he do.
You won a few.
Yeah, listen. I mean, I talked to the other guy the other day, like, you know, all the time. But I think you came into the US market very aggressive, and they didn't love that. I think Katie Taylor similarly tried to get into a male market, and they was pushed back. I see this sort of journey together as she grows and she becomes undeniable. You've grown and become undeniable, and I was still waiting for these apple shots. Yeah. But do you see Saturday as a culmination of a journey, or do you see it as a chapter 1's over, chapter 2, the legacy starts?
When I go into the amateur boxing clubs, it's almost like a cleansing session for the sport and the business that I work in. It makes you remember why you fell in love with boxing and what you love about boxing. And that's the same feeling I get when I'm around Katie Taylor. When I watch her, when I talk to her, you know, when I see the journey, all those things. When the sport, when the business gets tough and you're getting hammered and like you're thinking, when am I going to get a break? Things are going wrong and you're getting abuse. And I look at Katie Taylor and I think, that's why I love this sport. You know, no dramas, no politics, no two-face, just a love and a passion for what you do. And we share that. I have a passion for boxing. She has a passion for boxing. And together, when it's about Katie, although I'll always get her every penny she deserves, it makes me remember that sport is about greatness and about legacy. And not just the belts that you can accumulate, but the role you can play to inspire that next generation. And that is pure, right? And that's what motivates me. So in that respect, her journey does have similarities to mine. And she almost keeps me grounded in the sport of why. I just remember, because you can become very bitter in the sport. And on Saturday, like today at the workout, you know, I was welling up, thinking, I can't believe this. And on Saturday, it'll be the same. And at the ring walk at Madison Square Garden, the same thing happened. I was just like this. You know, it was like a spiritual moment. I was just like, and Saturday will be exactly the same.
I look forward to it. I appreciate chatting with you.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.